Hey everyone, welcome back to the second ever episode of the Conversation of Art podcast. I'm super excited you tuned in for the first time. Today on the show we have Lyle Bell from the Wet Secrets. He's going to tell us a little bit what's going on for them this year. It's been a big year for them and some behind the scenes stuff of the music industry. You'll notice in this podcast actually that it's a little chopped up, which is a little different. But every time we tried to end the conversation, Lyle and I seemed to get into more interesting topics, so I kind of slotted some of those back and dropped them into our conversation where appropriate. Hope you enjoy it. Just so you know, you can now subscribe to the podcast on our website, www.conversationofartpodcast.com, or on iTunes, or on Stitcher, or on YouTube. We have a whole bunch of options. All the links are there on the website, which is conversationofartpodcast.com, and hope you enjoy. All right, so Lyle Bell.
Yes, Andrew, how have you been?
I'm good. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, really good.
Good. What you been up to? You guys are working on a new album with the Wet Secrets, or?
Yeah, we have been working hard on that. 2 tracks in the can, 3 or 4 almost ready to be mixed.
Nice.
And yeah, kind of, I don't know, that's been the focus, so not a lot of gigging. Like, we did a ton right before December.
Yeah.
Or in all of last year. And right up to the new year. And so now this is a little bit of a reprieve while we write new music and, I don't know, take a break.
Yeah. Do you enjoy that process, like the studio recording, writing?
That's the most fun. I mean, live is amazing. Playing live is amazing, but
yeah,
tinkering around in the studio is like really what I kind of live for. That's what gives me hope in life to some degree.
That's awesome. So do you usually like write in studio, or do you write ahead of time then go to studio, or mix of both, or?
A little mix of both. I can't help but think of writing in the studio as a bit of a waste of time, or a waste of money, maybe. So I try to have most of the ideas hammered out beforehand.
Yeah.
We have occasionally, though, when you're in the zone, we will occasionally sort of spontaneously write something, and there were a couple tracks on the last album that were like 3-minute ideas that just spontaneously we started playing, and they were done in like 20 minutes basically, arranging wise. So
man, that your last album is so good. Like, I listened to that
nice
since Breakout West, when I first really I'd heard of you guys and and stuff a bit. And we first met at the
zoo.
The public records thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because I had done a couple videos, and your guys' video was in there, and blah, blah, blah. And then, but, I was like, oh, this is cool. And then, when we first saw you guys live, like, ever since then, I have your record just, like, on repeat constantly. It's great. So.
That's amazing. Well, great. Thanks, man.
Yeah. That's cool. So then, so studio time, and then you're hitting the road again, or what's the...
Yeah, we are. I mean, all of that kind of stuff. Sorry, I'm going to get a little more coffee. I'm actually drinking coffee because I'm trying to record tonight, or I was. But anyway, yeah, we have dates in. Here we get a little coffee time here. 11 p.m. coffee. That's how I roll.
Nice.
We have dates. Basically, we're going to beeline down to Austin for South by.
That's right.
And then for South by Southwest, that's mid-March, and then we play our way back through the U.S. Back in April. We need to, there'll be a few more sessions in April that we're starting to book. There's a couple other sort of wild card things that are going on, so that may also change our plan slightly, but like working with a couple other people, writing songs, having songs remixed, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And then hopefully by the end of April we'll have this new album wrapped, maybe, and then there's tons of stuff already being lined up. So
that's great.
So it should be. This is a little reprieve, but the pressure is still on somewhat because we need to get this record done. As soon as we enter summer, it's going to be crazy again. So
Right. And
one
is
more.
it you're looking at summer release before summer or in summer
No,
fall?
no, it probably won't. Like we need to have it in the can, or we're trying to get it in the can by uh, the middle of July.
Okay.
Delivered by middle of July. We already know who's putting it out. We're just sort of about to sign that paperwork, so that'll be announced right away.
Oh, nice.
But I mean, just the way that to properly put the record out, we kind of need it by then to get all the rest of the gears, everything sort of out in the right order and everything sort of aligned with either fall or maybe even early 2016.
Oh, okay.
Again, depending on how long it takes. We actually had free candy we had it in the can for about 6 months, and we were working on like videos and just sort of getting everything else kind of aligned.
Yeah.
trying to do it, and made sure that we had like the physical copies back before we did an album release, that sort of thing, So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, video seems like it's definitely a big part of your thing. Is that accurate, would you say, or is that a whole band focus, or is that mostly Trevor's deal and everyone gets in on it, or how's that?
Well, I am. It's certainly Trevor. Trevor is for those who don't know, Trevor is a pretty internationally acclaimed director in his own right. He's done a ton of short films, still based here in Edmonton, but he actually just was in Sundance for his latest Park City. So he's been doing really well with that side of things. So we have like an in-house video guy. I've also been really hands-on with that kind of stuff with every band I've been in. So there's sort of the two of us that have driven that that process. But that is, I mean, we'll probably be doing more of that kind of stuff, but with a little bit more focus. Like again, we sort of have ideas that are we don't have anything shot yet, but we're just putting them together now. Even though the album's not done yet, but we have like ideas that will sort of weave together in a way.
Awesome.
So it sort of complements the record, I think. At least in plan. Like things tend to change as you get going, but
yeah.
But we have it kind of mapped out right now, so yeah.
The whole thing. Okay, that's great. And you guys were down at South by last year too, right?
We were, yeah.
Yeah, how is that? How was that experience? I've heard like so many stories. I'm always interested to hear from new people how their experience down there is.
Every year I come back saying that I'm never gonna go again.
Okay.
I love it and I hate it. It's actually South by was the last drink I ever had was in Austin. It killed my desire to drink. And I literally felt like I was dying. This is now 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it can be amazingly fun. It can be, it can be a total pain in the ass as well, because it is a million people crammed into a 20 by 20 block radius, basically.
Right.
It is overwhelming a little bit as well, but I don't know. We've gone down enough times that we've always seemed to get something worthwhile out of it, and that's what keeps us going back. So
right, yeah.
And there always seems to be a reason. Every year, I'm like, we don't need to go back again. We got everything we needed out of it, and there always seems to be a reason come up.
Right. Yeah. Well,
to do it again. So,
all right.
Yeah. Worst show. Here's a little fun fact. Worst show that I've ever played in my life was at South by, I think 2009, South by 2009, or maybe it was 2008. But that was the absolute nadir of me playing on stage. I actually fell off the stage. This is one of the other bands that I'm in is called Shout Out 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 Out.
Yeah.
And we were all drunk, but I was the worst and fell off the stage and wedged myself upside down for the end of the set and couldn't get out and kind of had a little panic attack and
Oh no.
yeah.
Wow. And that's just how the show ended, with you wedged.
Yeah, wedged upside down, flailing away.
That's
It caused kind of a crazy rift in the band for a little bit, and immediately afterwards, the aftermath was that I quit drinking. Presumably at the beginning it was just going to be a break for a while, but yeah, I just came to the conclusion that I didn't need booze it actually hindered my getting things done.
right.
So I gave up. I don't know. I don't necessarily think everyone else should, but it wasn't working for me anymore. So
Yeah, no, I can see that. Huh. There you go.
yeah.
That's crazy. So how many major projects have you played in then?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Shout Out was sort of the one that maybe had the most traction,
Right.
and we were kind of in the heyday. It was sort of a little tickle. It was an enticing tickle into how things could be if you were a buzz band. I wouldn't say that we were ever, an international buzz band, but we had enough success that it really made me see that, first of all, you could do it. You could base yourself in Edmonton and make an impact. And secondly, you begin to see a side to some of these shows and a side to the music industry that I hadn't seen before, just how easy things could be.
Right.
And how great things could be, maybe. I don't know. I've always been in bands that are like right in the trench, like full touring, grinding it out. And I kind of love that. I kind of love that aspect too. It's like actual work.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I've been in a couple others as well that have done fairly well. Again, mostly, certainly not internationally recognized at all or anything, but yeah, so
Yeah.
two or three.
And then is that still, is your attention still between a few things? Or are you pretty much focused on the Wet Secrets now, or?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago, Trevor and I sat down. Like, the Wet Secrets is always, it has been going. We're actually coming up to our 10th year anniversary.
I read that, which is crazy.
Which is crazy. I mean, that is crazy. But it started as kind of a gag and almost an experiment, drunken experiment. And up until about a year and a half ago, it was always a side project. Trevor was working on his movies. Everyone had other things on the go. We just kind of made a pact. We sat down and made a plan and just sort of thought about if we wanted to quit or actually try, and if we're going to keep recording and keep taking shows, then we had to do it seriously, and
Right.
it couldn't be a side project anymore. It had to be like a main focus. So it's kind of been, yeah, I look at about a year and a half ago as a kind of a major turning point where we really decided to take it seriously.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the intervening years, because it was 2007 that we released Rock Fantasy, and the years in between, enough, adult shit had transpired that we were in a different place mentally as well. Couldn't write the same kind of obtuse songs. So
Right.
so this newer album is a little bit more serious and yeah, I don't know. Still a fun record, but it's not as obtuse and wasn't written in the midst of a crazy bacchanal like the other one two were. So
Right. Now I'm excited. Like, are the next? Because I heard live the next two singles or whatever. So is that kind of give a feel for it, or is it pretty different than that, or?
No, I think that would those two tracks It's kind of in that vein. I mean, I have always kind of, I have, again, like, for that last record and this one, a sort of a template in mind of what I want to hear. Like, definitely has to have a couple rockers, but it can't be too rocking. So, like, I'll throw in a kooky disco number here or there.
Nice.
So we've kind of, the math of it, what I wanted to do, and this, we're not quite there yet. We're a little behind the schedule, but I wanted to have 30 new tracks written, 20, and then pick the best 20 and record them, and probably put out 10 on a record, and then have 10 basically in the can.
Right, that you have for slow release or
Yeah,
whatever.
or yeah, just sitting on whatever. But
Yeah.
kind of that helps you whittle down. If you write that amount, you can really get a feel. You can assemble a record that is coherent.
Right.
I think that really nicely plays. You can get a running order that feels right, and yeah, I don't know. So we're a little bit behind. We have about 10 that are written and either fully done, like the two that you've already heard, are finished tracks. They're mixed. Although, I mean, technically we're still working on them, so those may get mixed again,
Right.
As we go along before the album's done. But tracking's basically done on those. There's and again, like a handful of others that are almost done. If I can get this stupid iMac to work with Pro Tools 11, I'd be a little farther ahead, maybe. I'm like surrounded by machinery here, and I know it's like the height of arrogance to complain about this kind of thing when you have like a brand new iMac and an old iMac.
Right.
But
and you can mix your record at home, and yeah.
Yeah. I don't do the. We actually have a studio. I do some of the overdubs here.
Okay.
So I've got a fairly decent studio. Like, I don't know. I mean, we record horns and synths. Like, I have a ton of synthesizers here.
Right.
And so we do a lot of like kind of slightly strange. I don't know if anyone can see.
Yeah, totally can see it.
But anyway, yeah. So I've got like a fairly small but practical rig here. Lots of synths, and then the major stuff is done with Nick Kozub at a studio called Audio Department. So
okay.
Not sure where I was going with that, but anyway, I guess like yeah, it is kind of. I was complaining about my iMac. Here's the dilemma that I'm having is what I really want to do is a total do-over and not port everything over. This iMac that is like 10 years old and is clogged with like 10 years of shitty apps that I've downloaded and
yeah, all the stuff that compiles over the years.
And I don't want to just transfer all that over, so I wanted a total clean start. But that also presents other problems because there's software that doesn't run under Yosemite, so I don't know. Yeah, I'm not fully up and running yet, and this is why I'm behind a little. So
right, as he's trying to sort that out.
Yeah. I don't know. Full-on Western problems, I know, but it's still something I have to solve if I'm gonna, get back to work on the record here. So
yeah, and release the records you want to do. Definitely. Huh. Well, there you go.
So, where are you right now?
I'm in Nanaimo.
Are you?
Yeah. We moved out to the island here just to be on the coast, a little closer to some stuff. It's just like I was, flying to LA or Nashville or something. It seemed like all the time. And I was like, well, not all the time, but like once a year, and it's like this big expense. I was, why don't I just go by Vancouver and Victoria, and then I can get in and out of meetings a lot easier and all of that kind of stuff. It just kind of made sense,
Yeah, no, I get it.
So yeah, there's a lot you can, like you said. I mean, there's a lot you can do in a smaller center. I mean, Edmonton's even still a lot more than Grand Prairie was, which is where I'm originally from. But it's
I
just
mean,
like,
look at the Tasman Jude guys they're currently in Australia, and we're
yeah,
in Trinidad and Tobago.
yeah, they're killing
Doesn't
it
matter.
everywhere they go.
Doesn't. Yeah, I know.
That's
You have to let me know. You know, Nanaimo is a black hole of knowledge, musical knowledge here for me. I have no idea if there are any venues in Nanaimo. I've been there once. I actually played a show there once. Um, and here's a little fun Lyle fact for you. I got into a fight. It was in a curling arena, and I found a bicycle, and I drunkenly was riding my bicycle around in a circle
yeah,
instead of loading my gear.
right.
And our drummer at the time pushed me off of the bicycle as I was going as fast as I could pedal,
Oh man.
and he pushed me into a pillar, and I basically like smashed my shoulder and almost couldn't play the next show. Had like a big gash on my face. And I chased him with a rock and tried to hit him with a rock in the head. But
Tried to murder him, basically.
yes.
After that.
So this is my only memory of Nanaimo. I have no idea currently where a band would play or what is.
Yeah, well, I know of 2 venues that would suit you well. So maybe after I hit the recorder, we can chat about that and see if we can hook something up.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me a lot of bands will make the trip over to the island, which is ridiculously expensive when you've got a van full of people and a trailer. I mean, it ends up being like $200.
Yeah, by the time
for the ferry.
Yeah.
Per trip, basically, I think, or each way.
Yeah.
And everyone plays Victoria and then comes back.
Yeah, no, you gotta. There's, I don't know Comox super well yet, but there's definitely shows to be played in Nanaimo, Victoria, obviously, and
Is there anything in Tofino?
there is. There is a rad little venue that likes Tuesdays, which is great because
That's every
for
band.
anyone who's listening who's never booked a tour, Mondays and Tuesdays are death. So anytime they're like, "Do you have a Tuesday?" I'm like, Oh, I've got a Tuesday. We will route everything for that. So, yeah, there's a few, and there's a spot in Duncan that's it's all right too, and yeah, a bunch of stuff. So
you could almost do a week. Sounds like you'd almost do a full weekend on the island.
yeah, you pretty much could. And then if you ran up to Courtney and Comox and stuff, and then you could actually make the trip a little more worthwhile that way,
Yeah.
Take the ferry over to Victoria, tour up, and then tour back down a little bit. Take the ferry back from Nanaimo or something. And
So here's a question: Can you ferry back the other way and get to like Seashelt or around there, or Gibson's, or
no, you still have to go to Vancouver and then back up.
and then back up? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not a ferry straight up there. So
Yeah.
You could do. I don't know. It depends on the music, but I know some of the smaller islands too, like Laura and Man and Fairly Odd Folk. Those guys.
Oh yeah.
They do great on Pender and Salt Spring and stuff like that. So, and those are cheaper ferries.
I mean, I'm also massively into photography.
Yeah.
So for me, that kind of thing, like going out to the island is actually something I always jump at that sort of thing, even though it's expensive and not always worthwhile from a band point of view,
right?
Financially, but I kind of love it out there, and yeah, I've kind of wanted to take a trip out there and even spend a couple extra days and go out to some of the other islands, even if there aren't really places for bands to play, but just almost to see part of Canada as a Canadian. You sort of, it's a side of or a part of Canada that you don't necessarily see. Mm-hmm. You have to seek that out. Going to some of the smaller islands.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like there's so much stuff. We were just out at a park 2 or 3 days ago called Neck Point here in Nanaimo, and it's like the people we were with said they were there a few weeks ago, and there was like 200 sea lions suddenly on the beach because they were doing their migration or whatever they do, But it's cool. It's all rocks and ocean, and like it's just beautiful. Like you say, it's just worth checking out just because. gear.
I would love that. See, that makes me want to go right now. Like, book the tour just to the. So we have like 5 island dates over there and check out the sea lions. I've made a mandate with this band. Don't tell Gravy this, but Gravy in Shout Out 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 Out, he's one of the drummers, and he always wants to get to the next venue or the next destination really fast as possible.
Right.
So we would rarely stop and do fun activities or sort of touristy activities.
Right.
But the mandate in this band when we're driving is to stop whenever we feel like it, and I don't know, just go walk on the rocks or I don't know, go see something new that isn't a dank bar. So
Yeah.
sea lions, we would be down with that kind of thing, walking on the rocks.
Yeah. Well, come out. Tell me, make sure you and Brent and I will talk, and we'll figure out when you're coming out here, and we'll hang out. We'll do some cool stuff.
Yeah, I'd love that. Yeah. Now that and the way that we've been looking at it in Shout Out anyway is that it's the album is almost like a promotional tool. Like a promotional tool to sell your band and to, A, either get people to come out to the live show, or B, raise your profile enough that you can maybe get sync placements and that kind of thing, where there is legit money still. Like you can get 10 grand for a placement or more, whatever, 60 grand.
Yeah,
so,
for the right placement.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like, I don't know, like kind of crying over the loss of sales. I mean, it's not like bands ever.
That's
when they were on like record deals back in the day, they weren't making that much money anyway, unless
and before digital distro, you pretty much had to sign to a record label to get distro, at which point someone was taking 80% of your cash anyway.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just a different who's getting the money. And in a way, like I was kind of happy to see the old system die. Like I was in bands in the 90s. Actually, that story about me being in Nanaimo, that happened in the mid 90s. Our band was opening for 5440, which is hilarious. But even like back in the 90s, that system kind of bugged me. We were on a label, and we would go and see. It's like the smooth talking A&R guys that are like doing massive lines of cocaine. That was sort of the first position that got axed, as like the record companies began to founder a little bit and get worried about income. Mm-hmm. It's like those guys were the first that were gone.
Yeah.
And to me, they were kind of bottom feeders to begin with. So it just seemed to me, I didn't really mourn the advent of digital and sort of the.
Well, and the weird thing to me is like right now, like today, or maybe it's yesterday, I don't remember, but some big report came out that the reason artists aren't making, like, because there's all these people who are like, whatever, like Nicki Minaj, or like, I don't make anything off of Spotify sales, and this report came out, I was like, it turns out the major labels are taking 80% of it. I'm like, of course they are. That's what they've always done. Like, that's their whole business. What? But
how is that a surprise?
It's getting passed around like it's shocking news that the labels are taking most of the streaming royalties. And I'm like, these replaced album sales. So, yes, that is what they would do, is take, which is, I mean, I think it said like 70, what was it, 78% or something? I was like, oh, that's a typical label deal, really, like a major label deal.
None of that shocks me. I guess where it can affect an artist that is a little bit bigger and has a little bit more at stake. You're now making less, at least with a physical album sale. You had mechanical royalties, and that, which was a bigger chunk, not much bigger, but certainly bigger than Spotify pays out. Yeah. That would at least go towards your recoupable. So, if you got back in the old system, if you got a huge advance, like whatever, $250,000 advance, $250,000 advance, there was some semblance of hope if you were like a platinum selling album or something like that you could recoup.
Yeah, whereas at
But
this point,
there's no way in the current way, like you're not going to recoup that kind of money with Spotify anyway.
No. Although, most bands that I've talked to or that I knew, by the time you get to recoup, they just then say, oh, then we decide to dump a bunch more marketing into it because it was doing well. And then you didn't hit recoup anyway, because there's always justifiable expenses, right?
Yeah, and actually, like, I don't even think that that's necessarily a bad thing.
No.
When it's bad is if bands that are signing 360 deals, and then you're kind of fucked because if they're taking all of your money from everything, where you're not even getting any of your money from playing live, or a large portion of that is going towards recoupable, then you're truly fucked. I mean, the whole thing about an album being a promotional tool for the live show, at least, like if you look at, you're talking about someone like Nicki Minaj, for example, or Drake or something like that, like the amount that they're not making on Spotify, like even if they were to sell 100,000 records, CDs, like physical CDs in Canada, let's say, what would they make off that? Like 10 cents an album, something like that. When they're getting like 250,000 or more US per show, like it just dwarfs, like the amount that they get paid for the live show dwarfs what the album sale actually is.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, I mean, that's what musicians have always, at the end of the day, live music is what we have. Because live music is the thing you can't digitize, you can't put in a box. It's just different being in a sweaty room of people listening to a great band, and it's not something that anyone can recreate and sell on the side for you. Like, you have to be there, and that's where you should be making the majority of the money. I mean, obviously you got an agent and a manager and whatever at some point, but those people, if everyone's doing, that's the thing that really bugs me about 360 deals is, is if the record label is still just going to stay focused on moving records. If they're going to take care of like all the other jobs.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you're still going to have a separate agent, still going to have a separate manager, still have a separate publisher, and then they're taking a cut of all of that, they're like, hey, wait a second. What?
Yeah.
I'm fine with paying you more if you're going to do more work, and if you're not going to do more work than they used to do, then no.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It is kind of it's a wacky system, the way things have kind of played out, and it's been funny to watch it happen because it's slowly, I mean, again, I've been doing this since the 90s.
Yeah.
Like pre-digital. I remember when a friend of mine ran in and he had managed to download probably what I think it was Intergalactic by Beastie Boys. That's the first record I ever remember he had a digital copy of.
Yeah.
And it was MP3, the first MP3.
Right.
And I remember like being kind of like, to me it was like just a novelty. I was like, man, that's far out, man. Like,
yeah,
like downloaded a record
that's crazy.
That's really far out, man. Like, why wouldn't you just go buy that? I don't know. It was weird. But yeah, it's kind of been interesting to see how it's fully morphed the other way. I actually don't think it's a bad spot to be in for bands, especially if you just look at it. If you don't look at it as like you're losing a ton of income from record sales, it's just look at it as a promotional tool, like Spotify, that kind of thing, or YouTube.
Oh yeah.
The whole thing, like anyone now can just go and sorry, the cats are knocking shit off my table here. Yeah, anybody can go. Oh, those bastards! They got into the Swiss Chalet. Oh, those little sons of bitches. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's so perfect that anybody can go onto YouTube and like you hear about a band and you can be listening to it in like 30 seconds, or Spotify or
Yeah,
Songs or
whatever.
any of those, right?
Yeah, no,
And
it's amazing. And before, like for it's still hard to create a video that, like blows up or goes viral or any of that. I think that's a weird goal. I mean, it's always in the back of your mind, crazy goal, but it's not really the goal if you're realistic.
no,
But the fact that there's a chance of that, like before, you couldn't have a great idea and have it take off to a bunch of kids that you didn't have access to
yeah,
because
exactly.
you had a great idea.
Yeah. You really, I mean, you needed to have that infrastructure there. Like even if you had a band like in the 90s or 80s that had just an amazing song, you still had to use the infrastructure
Mm-hmm.
if you wanted to get it out there, right? I mean, nowadays it's just these anybody anywhere can put it online. It doesn't I mean, you still have to rise above the noise.
Yeah.
It has to somehow be good enough to rise above that noise, and that whole thing about like how do you make a viral video? That's a whole other problem and a whole other like kind of hilarious thing to see people try and solve.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like another thing that's like really hard to quantify, obviously, like what makes a video go viral or a song
Yeah.
or even a band. Like again, it's not entirely a meritocracy. Music, I mean, that's no fucking shocker. Like the bands that are the best players and even necessarily the best songwriters don't necessarily
Rise to the top. Yeah.
don't rise to the top. And yeah, I mean, it could someone that's been playing guitar for like 2 months can hit on something like kind of a lo-fi jam or something like that, or just gets the pieces of the puzzle together right.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's
Or it just hits the right person's ears at the right time, who shares it to whoever else at the right time, and then it's
or has the right look. I mean, it's like
mm-hmm.
there's so many things. It's like all those factors together. I've been working long hours, so I feel kind of haggard right now. I haven't been able to shave, so I'm kind of grizzly. I apologize.
No, it's great. It's the working musicians something.
Yeah,
For us.
yeah. It's not focused on hygiene or the vanities at all. I'm focused on writing disco bass lines.
Well, it gets that way though. Like for me, it's not the writing, but different. So like when you've got like multiple projects and you're trying to work, and you're just like, oh yeah, I haven't combed my hair or showered in a couple days. I gotta emerge from this and try to pull something together. So
that's in a way that's some of the best part of being in the studio is you get your brain locked into the creative mode, and then yeah, you kind of lose track of time and everything else, lose track of reality. But that's yeah, I kind of love that zone.
yeah. I was gonna ask you just a little bit about the peak performance thing, since that was a big part of your guys' year, and with your plan, and just I mean more just I'm interested in your perspective as an artist who obviously went through that entire process and came out the other side a winner, and just how I just see so much good stuff happening with artists and businesses getting together a little bit more, and then I just kind of wondered what your thoughts were on that whole process and what worked for you, and
the peak performance thing again. I don't know if everyone will know what
yeah,
that
probably
is.
not.
If you're in BC, you probably know about it. It's kind of becoming a little more known in Alberta now, but just to briefly recap, it's a project that is funded by the Peak, which is radio station, a Pattison-owned radio station, where they bring all these bands together. You do a boot camp, and you have to do all these challenges, and then whoever wins gets $100,000. Second place is $75,000. Third place is $50,000. And there are other little prizes along the way. But my feeling of it, I had toured. We had toured with the 2012 winner, Dear Rouge,
Yeah.
At one point, they were opening for Shout Out on one of the tours
Okay.
we did. And we also did, prior to entering, Wet Secrets had done a tour with Gay 90s, who were a participant that same year as Dear Rouge, but they didn't place at all. So we had two different perspectives of it going in. And I was slightly skeptical about that whole thing, like entering. To me, from as an observer, a guy that's been in rock bands and like punk rock bands and like hardworking, grinder bands for so long, the way I looked at it was maybe that it was kind of like a battle of the bands taped to a reality TV show
Right.
somehow, and I was like, didn't want any part of that at all. And I was somewhat coerced to enter, like even just to have the Wet Secrets enter, and maybe not coerced, but I was sort of skeptical of it.
Hesitant of it. Yeah, yeah.
Once there were a couple people, some of the people at Alberta Music, Chris Winters, and Lindsay, also, they were proponents. They basically demanded that I enter. Like, how dare you not enter this thing? And it was sort of at their behest, and just I trust their opinion. So, and same thing, Brent Bain, our manager, he had been a staffer there, an alumni staffer at the Peak thing, or faculty member, on a couple of the years. So he was a proponent of it. And okay, so going there and once we were actually sort of involved in it, it changed my opinion of it completely, a 180-degree change in my attitude towards it. And it was really what it is, and what I think it is, and will continue to be, is basically a learning opportunity.
Right.
You can they kind of throw a ton of info at you, and they kind of slightly put you through the ringer. Like you have to have thick skin somewhat, but you need thick skin if you're going to be in this.
Yeah, if you're a musician.
Yeah, if you're going to be a musician with any aspiration, you gotta roll with it anyway. So, our take on it was that we were gonna apply whatever was applicable to us. We're gonna soak up as much info as possible. Take what was applicable to us, as a takeaway from it, and sort of discard whatever we thought wasn't maybe not really applicable to us. And and also really try hard. Like, I mean, we worked really hard on all the little challenges.
Yeah.
So I'm really pumped. I mean, to be honest, in the end, before there was any announcements on who placed where, I already thought we had gotten, it was an enjoyable experience, and the boot camp alone was really fun and rewarding. So I didn't really care if we had won at all. As it turns out, we ended up winning. So
right.
So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the whole thing. The boot camp itself was also nonstop fun. It was set up when we were talking to these other bands about it. They had kind of set it up like it was this grueling, like, taskmaster, the taskmasters of the Peak. They're going to rip you down, and you really got to bring your A game and work really hard at this thing. But the Peak, the boot camp was 100% fun. It was just right from the get-go. You're fed amazing meals all day. You're out in this really cool camp near Rossland. Can't remember or Princeton.
Yeah, by Princeton. Yeah, I have a friend who actually is one of the guys who works at the camp. So
yeah, this crazy Young Life camp. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We were prepared. We kind of prepared beforehand, like had tracks ready with the band we were paired with, Shred Kelly.
Nice.
And yeah, we kind of went in, and it was just a blast. I don't know. I had a blast. It felt like a vacation in a way.
That's great. Yeah, if you can learn a lot and have a good time and have a vacation, I mean, that's obviously a well-constructed event, Was this the
Yeah.
last year that they did it in BC, and now it's just Alberta?
It was, yeah. That was the seventh. Or sorry, no. You know what? There's one more BC year.
One more BC, yeah.
One more crossover year where it's both of them together.
Right.
Wah, wah. So, and I think they're fighting as to where it's going to be this year. The Alberta crew, I think, are trying to move it to Canmore or somewhere around there, like a different facility.
Okay.
So I don't fully know. I'm not really on the inside track with where it's at right now, but I do know that it's the last year of the BC, so
Yeah.
BC side.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I've encouraged. I'm now sort of an unpaid walking billboard for the Peak thing, and actually we were on a billboard from the Peak, so there you go. I'm actually an actual literal billboard for the Peak.
Literal and figurative billboard for the
Yes.
That's awesome.
But I've kind of encouraged some bands. Like I'm an old grizzled, cynical guy who, it changed my opinion of it, and I think there's a lot to learn. So like younger bands, I don't know, I've encouraged lots of people to apply. Yeah. And again, I mean, it's not for everybody. Like if you're a band like Shout Out 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 it wouldn't work for that band. Like you need to be thinking that it's a contest put on by a radio station. So their focus is on bands that are sort of commercially viable or are going for a commercially viable type of music, right?
Yeah.
So if you're into really long, space jams, krautrock space jams, or like flute music or something like that, it may not be applicable. So
it might not make any sense for you. Yeah. Yeah, it's got to make, because they're kind of like I forget what format Peak is, but it's kind of somewhere between like a rock and an AC kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that zone.
It is indeed.
Nice. Cool. Well, thanks for jumping on, man, and chatting for a bit.
Yeah. It seems like this is the podcast that was like, it almost seemed like it was never going to happen because
it took us a while to pull it together.
And I don't know. It was supposed to happen last night, and then I fell asleep because I'm a big dummy.
That's all right. We're on here now, and it was good. And you're actually the first video episode, so you get to kick off the YouTube channel.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah. I'm
the
Emperor Palpatine.
That's right.
Over here dispensing advice and musical wisdom.
That's awesome. Cool, man. Well, thanks again. And before we go though, if you do have anything that you want to plug with your bands or with anything else, or even just, I don't know, your website or whatever you want, feel free to plug it.
Man, I should have an amazing answer for that. The Peak people will be tisking that I don't, but yeah. I mean, I want to be your band. That's the thing. I encourage everyone to maybe go check out thewetsecrets.com. There's links to everything in there. Yeah, man. I don't know. Come see a live show. I mean, we're gonna be touring around everywhere. So
yeah,
no matter where you are on Earth, we'll probably be there this year. It's looking like so.
That sounds good, and I will definitely check out, as you've seen by me coming up to you after live shows and fangirling for 10 minutes or so. So I'll definitely be there.
We love it. We love that.
Yeah. Cool. All right, man. Well, thanks so much.
You betcha, man.